Are you sitting on your daily commute thinking longingly about your next holiday? Are you filled with so much wanderlust that you've got no idea where to go next? Or have you got your next trip booked and in the bag and you're looking for tips and tricks to make it all go smoothly? Then, welcome to the TRAVELUST Podcast. Join me, Sam Sparrow, every fortnight as I chat to the people who have built their life around a desire to experience the world. As a travel blogger and wannabe professional city breaker, I'm nosy, and we get deep into travel memories, favourite destinations, and tips to make your next trip go with a bang. This week, I'm having a good old chinwag with Rhianna, a blogger, Instagrammer, and online lass from rhiannaolivia.com. Hailing from Yorkshire, we chat about the impact of her dad's international Navy career on her world perspective and childhood trips down south. Rhianna talks about the joys of being at home and why backpacking and long-term travel doesn't fit with her lifestyle. We get really excited about music festivals and how they fit into Rhianna's travel plans and her top tips for how to do festivals in style. Rhianna is such an enthusiastic ball of energy. You can't help but want to plan a trip with her. Remember to tweet me at Sam R. Sparrow with the hashtag TheTravelUst with your favourite travel tips and memories and your perspective on what we discuss. You can find even more travel content on my website at thesparrowflies.com along with all of the podcast episodes. Are you packed? Then let's go. So, welcome Rhianna to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
I am super excited to be having you. For those listening at home, Rhianna's already got the wine out, so we're setting the scene.
You're right.
Yeah, we're setting the scene for a great podcast. So for those listeners that might not have found you online, I don't know who they are. They must be under a rock. Do you want to tell everyone kind of who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Rhianna. I run the blog Rhianna Olivia. It used to be Robocop, but I went through like a big massive rebrand a few months ago, which is exciting. I am from Leeds, as you could probably tell from my amazingly Yorkshire accent. And yeah, I'm just a bit of an online nerd, to be honest. Anything online, I'm just a bit obsessed with. So Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, blogging, podcast now.
Amazing. Yes, you're making this probably, you've been on other podcasts because this probably won't be your podcast debut, but yeah, you're on all the online things and you are a strong presence in that online community. And we're here today to talk about your travel memories, your travel plans, any of your travel tips, what you like about traveling and what you might not like about traveling, and we'll get onto that later. But can you share kind of an early travel memory that you might have had?
Oh, early travel memory. The two that come to mind. One is a staycation, and one is the complete opposite. I remember when I was about, goodness, I must have been about 7, 8 maybe, and we went down to Brighton to stay with some of my mum's friends, and that was just great. There was I remember vividly, we went to the coast and there was a hoverboat on the sea, and it was just amazing. Cool. I don't know why I remember that, because I was so little. But then my other one was the first major holiday we kind of had as a family was to Sydney when I was 8 and my brother was 3, because my dad's brother lives out there. So we went out like a big family holiday, and honestly, I am dying to go back. I'm now 24, so it's been a lot of years, and I'm so dying to go back. It was amazing.
I feel like we've had quite similar experiences because I grew up not going to Brighton but going to the Dorset coast, and equally obsessed with hover boats, but also pedalos. Pedalos played a huge part in my life.
Yes!
Everyone loves a pedalo. But then when I was 11, my first big holiday was to Australia as well, to Sydney, to see my family. So we've really mirrored. And so how do you think? So you've got really fond memories of kind of going down to Brighton as a child, but also doing that big Australia adventure. How do you think some of those early travel memories have kind of impacted your kind of sense of, I don't know, for want of a better word, wanderlust, or how you like to experience the world?
Honestly, I love the word wanderlust. I don't know why. I love the word. It's I don't know, it's just great. I love it. But my early travel memories as well, I've always been told to travel. My dad was in the Navy when he was younger, and he left just before I was born to actually, be around for my childhood. So I've always grown up with my dad telling me all about these amazing places that he visited. Like he's literally been everywhere. Like I don't think I can name a country he hasn't been to.
Oh my God.
So I always kind of grew up with that, like, instilled in me, like, you need to see the world. It was amazing. I had all these fantastic experiences. So when we did do like little staycations and then massive holidays, it always just felt so special, because I was like, oh my God, my dad came here when he was younger. So I don't know. And then because we were so young when we went to Australia, and it was such a long journey. Like I said, my brother was actually only 3 at the time, so God knows how my mum and dad did it.
Yeah, I was going to say, major kudos to your parents, because that is not an easy flight.
I do not envy them at all. I can't imagine how hideous that must have been. And I was like a bit of a demanding child as well, so. But
did you have a stop? Yeah.
Yeah. We stopped in Singapore on the way. We did 1 or 2 nights there on the way over, which I did obviously break it up. But such a massive holiday at such a young age was just like, it made me very aware from being quite young that there was a lot of things out there that I wanted to see. So that was exciting.
And does that shape, so, there are, I guess, lots of different views about travel, and for some it's just getting away from work and spending 2 weeks on the beach. For others, it's about getting out there and seeing everything. Do you think kind of the knowledge that your dad had been to all of these places while he was in the Navy kind of impacted, I guess, the fact that you wanted to go and see and experience things as opposed to just go on holiday? Is that a fair kind of comment?
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember when I was little, I'd like look through all his photos of like him and all his friends on the boats. And to be fair to him, he very much, like, what's the word? He made his traveling sound a lot more official than it was. Like, he literally just used to get off a boat and get pissed in some bar in some country somewhere.
We've all been
call
there.
It traveling. But yeah, no, it absolutely did. Like, I used to look through all his photos, and it was fantastic. And my dad was actually born in Portsmouth, but he was raised in Hong Kong for like the first few years of his life.
Wow.
So he's always had really fond memories of Hong Kong. So for his 40th, like 10 years ago, my mum surprised him with a trip there. So I was 14 at the time. So I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'd love to go. And that's still very high on my list of places to travel to, because it's like so special to him. But yeah, it was a different way of growing up with travel, because we didn't necessarily go to loads and loads of places, but I had so many stories sort of told to me that it made me want to go there.
And so is there anywhere that's kind of on your list based on kind of your dad's stories? Like, obviously Hong Kong is one of them. Where's your top kind of bucket list destination?
Well, actually, at the moment, it sort of changes, to be honest. At the moment, I'm absolutely dying to go to New York, and I fully blame Sophie for that. Sophie Cliff.
Yeah, she's
her flipping mini moon.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my God, Sophie! Now everyone wants to travel to New York like that. I've been, but I didn't go in the summer, and now I'm desperate to go in the summer and rooftop bar it to the max.
Oh, it looks amazing. But then, like, on the flip side, I'd really like to do somewhere. I'd really like to do South America, actually.
Yeah.
That's quite high on my list, but I can't list it. There are too many places. If I had the money and the means, I would just disappear off and just go everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. But I want to talk a little bit about some of your kind of favourite destinations and how you like to travel. You talk about kind of wanting, if you could tomorrow, you'd just dump everything and go and see the world. But I know that you wrote fairly recently about the fact that you would describe yourself as a bit of a home bird, so you like being at home and you like having like your home stuff around you. How do you reconcile that? How does that fit into like this kind of inner wanderlust that you've got?
For me, it's like I do, like you say, there are like home comforts, and I really enjoy being at home, and I really enjoy being lazy and just sitting in bed and like watching Netflix and all that jazz. So I think for me, the thing that's never interested me has been the sort of backpacker, go off and travel for 2 years at a time and work while you're out there thing, because I think I would just be too homesick. I couldn't cope with it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Joe, my other half, is the same. So I think between us, we've almost agreed, because we both want to see so many places. It's like, let's just do a shit ton of holidays. Just go to different places rather than do it all at once.
I'm exactly the same. So I never took a gap year. And for a while I was surrounded by people at university that had taken a gap year. And
Gap year.
Yeah, gap year. And seen all of these amazing places. And there was a part of me that at the time was just gutted that I'd done uni and then I'd got a job and and then got married and then got a mortgage. And then at that point it's like, well, backpacking's, not going to happen. But for me, actually, I really like the shit ton of holidays, the always having something to look forward to. I'd miss my cats too much if I was away. Who would look after Clive? It would just be the worst. So, yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And I know kind of there's I think there's a real tension between wanting to see as many places as possible, but also really enjoying life at home. And you talked about really enjoying staycations and things like that. How do you like to travel? Is it beach break? Is it city breaks? More short term, a mix? Like, what would be your ideal, I guess, travel plan for you?
Well, for me, it completely depends on what's going on in my life at the time. As an example, when we graduated, we booked 2 weeks in Greece. We booked 2 weeks in Rhodes at this absolutely, oh my God, you've never seen a more beautiful hotel in your entire life.
Amazing.
It was stunning. And we literally did not leave the hotel for 2 weeks. We just sat, we ate, we drank, and we read. And it was absolutely fucking brilliant. Like, we so needed it, because it was like, we've both been at uni for 4 years. I need to not do anything for 2 weeks. I need this time. And we're actually going to book somewhere this week. We're not sure where yet, but to do something similar, but just for a week, because the last sort of year has been so stressful, because I was made redundant and I was jobless for 6 months, and then I've almost spent 6 months at my current job. So what we're doing this year is doing something similar. So we've got a week planned at the beginning of October. We're thinking either like Greece or Lanzarote or somewhere where we can go all inclusive, but there's also something to see.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, next year, because I'm going to have a full year's holiday for a start, like this year, because I only started in March, I had a reduced annual leave.
Yeah.
So next year we're planning on doing a lot more city breaks, maybe going to New York, maybe. So I wouldn't say that I have a travel style, because it literally completely depends on what's going on in my life at the time. But you can't go wrong with a cheeky beach holiday every now and then. There's a thing where people think that they're bad. There's like a stigma against them.
I'm really glad you said that, actually, because I think so. It's quite interesting, because until fairly recently, the 2 week holiday, like traditional British 2 week holiday, was pretty much all I used to do for choice and through work. So for my honeymoon, I went to Mexico, and we stayed in a lovely all-inclusive hotel, and we went out and we saw things, but also returning to the comfort of our nice hotel. And we did something similar in Costa Rica as well. And when I say that to some people, I get quite a lot of stick for like, you haven't experienced the real country. And I think there is this real stigma between being a traveller or a tourist. And I think, well, we're all tourists if we've not been in a country before and we don't live there, to go and see it. So it's really interesting to hear that point of view. Sometimes you just need to lay somewhere where it's warm, because it's not warm in the UK very often, right?
I totally agree, and I really disagree with, like you say, the stigma, like, oh, well, you just went for a beach holiday for a week. Well, that's not travelling. It's like, screw you, I needed a week of a beach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's not enough sangria in the world that's going to stop me from enjoying that. And also, you're a pretty big festival goer, like me. And so so I always have seen, and particularly when I wasn't able to book holidays because we were saving up for adult, boring, grown-up things. I always did my festivals, and for me, they also were like a holiday for me and a break.
Yeah.
And do you see the same? Because I know, because you've been to Download and you're going to Leeds. Do you see them as a holiday or something different?
We absolutely do, especially Download. Leeds Fest, not so much, because obviously with us living in Leeds, it's like a 30-minute journey. So it's pretty much like doing a day trip for 3 days.
Yeah.
Because we don't camp. But Download definitely, and it's partly because you sort of travel to get there. We go on the train, and it's really exciting, and it's partly because it's so fucking expensive.
I know.
Because I have a bad back, so I'm not allowed to camp.
Right.
So basically, all we can do is get a hotel, and for us, as much as it is incredibly expensive, it actually does work out cheaper for us to get one of the VIP packages at Download, which is where they do like a hotel, and then you get your transport to the festival covered, and it's all sort of in one big bundle. And it's not cheap. Like, I'm telling you, it's £700 each.
Oh my goodness, that is a holiday.
It's so expensive. And that's what I mean. It is a holiday, which is another reason why we don't necessarily do lots and lots of holidays in a year, because we love Download so much that actually takes up quite a lot of our budget.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
But I think if you really love doing something, then that is a holiday that, you know, you're traveling there and it's something that you really enjoy, that music and that being, you know, there's, well, depending on how you feel about festival food, right? There's good food, there's booze, and there's entertainment and your loved ones. So that's, you know, pretty much a holiday sort of covered, really. So I've always seen music festivals as holidays, but I've never done the hotel stay. But I'm thinking about going to Download next year, and I am going to be 35, so it might be the time to pull out the big guns and stay in a hotel.
Honestly, like, we actually did the maths one year, and because we are not campers, because I can't camp, we actually we worked it out, and because we like the transport from the hotel to the festival's covered, and you get your breakfast at the hotel included. You get a really cool goodie bag. Can I just?
Nice.
You get really cool freebies. And with everything that is actually included, it does actually cost us less than it would do to buy all our camping equipment and go camp.
Yeah.
Especially
it's
with
really
us having like a
expensive.
full breakfast. It is really expensive. But we have like a full breakfast on the morning, and then we only need to buy one meal at the festival. So that means more money for beer. So.
Which is what you need when it's raining, which it inevitably is at a music festival.
And because of the hotel, we bring a crate of cider, stick it in the mini fridge, drink 5 before we go.
Oh my God, that's it. Tips, guys. This is how you do music festivals. Listen to Rhianna. Rhianna's got it absolutely down. I need to take some tips from you. You don't have to log them in for like 50 million miles to get to your campsite. It's just the worst. It's why I stopped drinking cider and started bringing spirits, because they're a bit lighter to carry. So, thinking about where you have been, like, where would you say is your favourite destination that you've travelled to?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Chiang Mai in Thailand.
Really?
For sure.
So I've never done anything in Asia at all, and I've heard amazing things about Chiang Mai. What was it about Chiang Mai that really kind of grabbed you?
It was, it's just the best place in the world. It's just, honestly, like, because it's up north and not near all the like beach resorts, there's still a lot of tourism there, and there's still a lot of people from all over the world coming and seeing it, but you feel like you're in Thailand, you feel like you're in like the culture, and it's just phenomenal, and it's beautiful. Like, it's all mountains and greenery, and it's just stunning. My grandparents actually lived there I think they lived there for about 10 years. They moved back a couple of years ago. So I've been to visit them 3 times. And it's just the best place in the world.
And why did they live out there?
Honestly, they were absolute girls. Like, what they did was they both retired, and they'd been retired for a few years, and they just kind of went, you know what, I'm bored of England, I want to move somewhere. And they've always been big travellers themselves, because my granddad was also in the Navy. They're my dad's parents.
Right.
And so they went, we've heard nice things about Thailand. Let's just go live there.
That's just Wow, that's absolutely amazing. That's not the normal kind of, I guess, retirement kind of option for people. That's so cool.
Isn't it fantastic? So they literally went, right, well, what we'll do is we'll find a flat, we'll rent it, and we'll just stay there for a year, and then we'll move on somewhere else. But after a year, they loved it so much that they actually got their own house built out there, and they ended up living there for like 10 years.
Oh my God, that's absolutely incredible.
It's fantastic.
And I can sort of now see, kind of definitely through those family connections, that that's where you get your kind of, I guess, lust for travel from.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's it, through generations. You've seen kind of people doing that and being that way. So it feels like a really normal thing. Do you think you'd ever live abroad?
To be honest, it depends on the place. I would, but I like England. I really do.
Yeah.
I like living here. I'd probably, if I lived abroad, I'd probably live somewhere quite similar to England, in that I'd live in America or Canada or somewhere like that. I don't think, unless I was retired like my grandparents, I don't think I'd up sticks and move to Thailand. But I would always be open to it. Absolutely, as long as there was a job.
I think that's the thing. I've sort of said the same thing. I mean, I've got 10 years on you, and I feel like that it's probably a retirement thing now, as opposed to an actual thing that might happen. And I've always kind of been in two minds about the fact that it would be so cool to go and live abroad and kind of live that life. But also, I really love the UK, and I love, for all of its weather and, problems and expensiveness and, all the things that we whinge about on a daily basis. There's kind of nowhere quite like home. So, yeah, I think I have the travel bug in me, but not quite to the extent where I want to kind of live abroad as much. So I think we're quite similar.
Absolutely.
In that way. And so so you're a very proud Leeds resident, I think it's fair to say. In fact, there's a whole group of you that I think we should rename this podcast to the Leeds podcast, because I've got quite a few residents of Leeds that are guests on the podcast. But you're really proud of being where you're from. Where did you go to university in Leeds, or did you go elsewhere?
Right, so I don't like to tell people this, so obviously I'm going to say it on the podcast. I'm actually technically from Bradford.
Whoa!
I know, gross. I was born in Leeds, and that's why I'm from Leeds.
That's fine. It's where you're born. That's fine. We can do that. So you're actually a Bradfordian.
I just want to interject here that my other half is currently looking at me and shaking his head.
It's okay. When I tell people the truth that I was born in Hayes in Middlesex, my mum gets really upset and makes me correct them to say that I was born in Hillingdon, because that's more north of the borough and it's more acceptable. But, I was born in Hayes. I know where I'm from.
You're right. Well, I was born in Leeds, so I am from Leeds. But I was raised and went to school in Bradford. So, it was, I went to a high school in like the middle of a council estate in Bradford. It was disgusting. But Leeds has always been my hometown, though. Like, I never really went to Bradford. Yeah. I always went to Leeds because, no offence if you're from Bradford, but it's a fucking shithole. It's a hideous place.
Do you know what? I've never been to Bradford, so maybe I won't go now.
Don't go. It's not worth it. Unless you want to get stabbed, don't go. But I actually went to Nottingham Trent Uni.
Right, okay.
I'm going to go to Leeds, but the problem with Leeds Uni, when you're like me and you're a creative, is because they're a red brick uni, they're very, you need 10 A stars to get in here. And it's like, but I'm not grady. I'm designy.
I love that. I've never heard the phrase, I'm not grady. I'm totally going to use that. I love that phrase.
And then, like, Leeds Beckett was just like, it was just a bit of a dosser course. So I ended up moving to Nottingham for 4 years, where I adored it. Like, I love Nottingham as a city, but Leeds is my heart. Like, Leeds is my heart and my soul.
So if someone was coming to visit Leeds, so I'm going to ask all of the other Leeds people that come on the podcast this same question and see kind of, we're going to be able to plan, everyone that listens to this podcast, the best weekend in Leeds ever with all the recommendations. If someone had never been to Leeds before and they were asking you for advice on what to do and what to see, what would you tell them about your kind of hometown?
The football team's crap. Rugby team is great. But in terms of the actual town, it's fantastic. I like to think of it as like a little London.
Yeah, I think so. I visited Leeds a few months ago, and I think that's really fair, actually.
Yeah, it's honestly, I am so biased, but it's just such a great city. Like, it's such a great city, and the best thing about it, to be honest, at the moment, especially if you're like me, is the food.
Yes.
the food scene is just phenomenal at the moment.
And where are your top? Where do you like to go? You always post amazing brunches at the weekends, and I'm like, oh my god, I want
The
it.
brunch selection is fantastic. I'm so happy because it wasn't until like the sort of last like 12 months ish, and they've kind of gone, oh shit, brunch is a thing, and like 10 brunch places have opened. If you're going to go for brunch in Leeds, you've got to make it either Ox Club, Lane's Espresso.
I've had brunch in Lanes, and I
amazing?
can verify that it is an incredible brunch option.
It's fantastic. Yeah, but you need to go to Ox Club there, honestly.
Yeah.
It's the best brunch you can ever have in the world, ever. And I've heard really good things. A new one's just opened in the past couple of weeks. It's called North Star, and it's on the docks. And me and Joe are actually going to go on Saturday and check it out. But it's supposed to be amazing, and it's so blogger. It's so blogger.
Leeds feels very blogger at the moment, actually. It's, yeah, I agree. Or maybe that's just because I follow lots of Leeds bloggers and I'm living my life. Exactly. Yeah, well, I'll let you have that. So, yeah. So thinking about, I guess, Chiang Mai, favourite destination, also grandparents moving there, literally the best. Almost as good as my story of my nan-in-law goes to Ibiza.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's 93. She doesn't go for the rave. I will qualify that with the fact that she isn't a raver. It's not like she's going to. I'm not a raver either. I was about to try and name a club in Ibiza. This is not going to happen, is it? But she's not there for the rave. But she goes to Ibiza. She takes herself off with a lady she met on the Asda bus at 93. And goes to Ibiza. I mean, like, seriously, our grandparents are doing life better than us, I think.
That's amazing.
Total grandparent goals. But is there somewhere you visited that you haven't really liked? Or do you have a travel, like, I'm looking for a juicy travel story, Rhianna. Like, has there been anything that's happened that you can share?
To be honest, this is going to be a really boring bit now because no, I haven't, as an adult, been to that many places because obviously I was at university for 4 years. Yeah. So I didn't really go anywhere for that whole 4 years because, well, who can afford a trip when you're at uni without bankrupting yourself?
Yes.
There were
I
two.
went to Cornwall. Like, my one trip while I was at uni, I think, was they started doing flights to a Newquay airport while I was at uni. So we got a cheap, I don't even think it was Ryanair, but it was like this cheap, like 10 quid flight deal. And we got a flight to Cornwall and back in a day for lulz. That's it. That's the extent of my university travelling.
I did actually go to Berlin whilst I was at uni, but it was a university trip.
Oh, wow.
We went
so cool.
with uni because we were a design course. We went as like, hey, look at all the cool street art in Berlin. To be honest, I'm making that up. I don't even know why we went. Like, we were a product design course. I'm not 100% sure why we went to Berlin.
Although it was very cool street art in Berlin. So.
Oh, it really is. It was amazing. But we went in March and we were told that the weather would be cold. But oh my God, it was knee-deep snow the entire time we were there.
Yeah, Berlin's very cold.
Oh my God, I loved it. But I got home and I was knackered. I needed another holiday.
Yeah, it's funny. I find that because I've been doing quite a lot of city breaks recently. And actually, I've sort of now come to the realisation that I need to stop for a bit. Because it is a bit knackering when you're going hell for leather, kind of seeing a new city, and you come back on the Sunday night and you've got to go to work on the Monday.
You did flipping France in a day the other day, didn't you?
I did. I did go to Lille in a day. And also the more insane part was because we prioritised beer over food. So I ended up back on the Eurostar like pretty pissed and having walked forever in one day and woke up the next morning like, how am I supposed to function today? That was, especially because I didn't do it at a weekend. So, but you can do you can do it in a more sensible fashion than me just running around trying to try all the beer that exists in the world in 9 hours. It's fun, but stay overnight if you're going to do that. Okay, so let's think about your future travel plans. So you've already talked about the fact that you're about to book a holiday, which is super exciting. I think that stage of when you haven't booked yet and you're still deciding it's really exciting when you're kind of in the process of choosing and working out where you're going to go.
Oh my God, it absolutely is. It's like my favourite part. I much prefer it to actually booking the holiday, because it's like, oh, I want to go here, and I want to go here, and I want to go here. It's so exciting. Especially as a blogger as well, though, because like there are so many places now that I want to go purely because other people have been, and I've gone, I never wanted to go there before, and now I want to go there. Lanzarote is one of those places. There were a bunch of bloggers went at the beginning of the year. I can't remember for the life of me who actually went, but they posted loads of photos, and I was like, as a kid, I grew up thinking Lanzarote was like sort of like a English trashy Benidorm type place.
Well, it had the nickname Lanzarote.
Lanzarote.
Yeah, I had exactly the same viewpoints actually, and it's the same with Benidorm. So Jen from She Gets Around went to Benidorm a few months back, and it made me totally rethink Benidorm as a holiday destination.
Me too. And it's the same, like, I feel like there are some places that have this sort of like stigma against them, and until you actually properly delve into them, they're really, really nice. And now I really want to go to Lanzarote, and also I kind of want to go to Benidorm.
Yeah, me too. I was like, okay, let me get to Benidorm immediately. So how do you, when you're researching a holiday, so thinking about this holiday, do you go to kind of traditional kind of travel agent sites, or are you using bloggers and kind of other influencers online to kind of make your decisions around going on holiday? Like, what would you recommend to people that are looking for kind of holiday destinations now?
I tend to do a bit of both. So whenever I see a blogger or a YouTuber or something go somewhere that I think, oh wow, I want to go there, I'll make a little note of it, and I'll say, right, this person went here at this time. Have a look back on their blog when you're trying to decide on a holiday. Because
oh my God, that's so organised. I kind of go, I really want to go there, and then I forget to save the post. I'm such a bad fellow blogger.
Write it down. And then on the flip side, I'll go on like Thomson and Thomas Cook and that, and I'll just have a flick through and see what hotels are available. And from doing that, I'll kind of almost accidentally collate a list of places I want to go. And because the past few times we've been away, we've done all-inclusives, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But now we're sort of looking to book next year more like Airbnbs and little city breaks and that. I'm really, really loving researching places and looking into where to go and where to eat and what to do. And it's so exciting.
Where to eat is basically looking at places to eat in places that I want to visit is honestly my favourite pastime. Finding a good brunch. We spent I went away with Beverly from Pack Your Passport and Sophie from sophiecliff.com to Amsterdam.
Oh my God, so jealous of that trip.
I know, and basically every morning we sat in bed in the hostel room that we were staying in and flicked through the internet to decide where our brunch was going to be that day. It's like the best. I love it. Was very lucky that I found two other people that love food as much as I do on that trip. So
go. I am coming with you. Can I just?
Yeah, we need to do it.
You all went, and I was just like, I want to go.
Yeah, we need to do it. Well, that leads me on to a really good question, actually. So I think finding I've spoken to Beverly quite a lot about this, who's done a lot of solo travel, and I haven't done any solo travel because I'm a bit of a wimp, and I get scared about really irrational things, and I need to do it, and I'm going to do it at some point. But I think finding your ideal travel partner can be really hard sometimes. So I go on holiday with my husband a lot, and he's great, but he doesn't want to go to a lot of the places that I want to go to because he has quite fixed views in his mind about places. He doesn't ever do any holiday or trip research. He leaves that kind of to me.
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah, and also he doesn't I'm quite like, when I get to a new city, I kind of like, right, I want to see everything. And I mean, normally at weekends, he doesn't get up before like 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So that doesn't jive so well when we're away. You're going away with your other half. Are you a kind of match made in travel heaven, or, who would be your ideal travel partner if you could choose?
Right. So me and Joe have been together 8 years now. And we got together when we were 15, so our formative years have been spent in a relationship.
Yeah.
And we both had very different upbringings in terms of travel. So obviously I've already told you about my dad and going to loads of different places, whereas when Joe was younger, he pretty much did all-inclusives and stuff with his family, which is great. And he's been loads of places. Like, he went to the Dominican one time, and I'm so jealous. I would love to go there. But when we first got together, Joe was very... I don't. This sounds really insulting, but it's not at all. But Joe was always a lot more interested in sort of the all-inclusive life than I was.
Yeah, that's exactly the same. It's exactly the same with my husband. He loves that luxury life.
Yeah, and to be honest, he's introduced me to it, and I love it now.
Yeah.
But we've now sort of merged in our interests. So I've started to become interested in sort of like an occasional all-inclusive holiday, and he's started to become a lot more interested in like city breaks and proper traveling and that, which is really cool, because it means that we've both got the same sort of like aims when it comes to travel. We both sort of bounce off each other. Like, with us booking a holiday now, we're going to be going to an all-inclusive, but also going out on day trips and that sort of thing. So we've sort of meshed our interests.
I think it's so important.
It's best of both worlds, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he would definitely be my optimum travel partner.
Well,
absolutely.
that's really lucky, because you've got a built-in travel partner to see the world with. I keep coming up with weird destinations I want to go to, and I keep getting a slightly screwed up nose looking at me like, why? Why do you want to go there? And I'm like, why not? Let's just go everywhere. So I really am going to have to get my head around solo travel at some point, or I'm never going to see these places.
Bless you. I'll come with you, Sam. It's fine.
We'll go. Let's find somewhere really mental, and we'll just go and see what happens. And we'll just find the best brunch.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's good though, because like Joe came up to me the other day, and he thinks of the most random places, and he just comes out with it. And he's like, he just came up to me the other day and went, "Let's go to Reykjavik." I was like, "It's been on my list for a while. Yeah, cool. Let's." Just out of nowhere, just let's go here. Like, okay, it's
amazing.
Great.
Oh, I'm desperate. I'm desperate to go to Iceland, actually. So yeah, I would really like to go there. So you've got your cheeky all-inclusive coming up this year, and you're going to be booking some city breaks next year. Are there any particular European city breaks that you're kind of really interested in booking? I know we've talked about New York. I'm desperate to go to New York again now. But anywhere in Europe that you're thinking, that's possibly going to be one of the things we're going to book for next year?
Amsterdam for sure. We've both never been, and I am dying to go to Amsterdam. And also, we really, really want to do Dubrovnik.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
That's another one. Joe just came up to me one time and went, "Let's go to Dubrovnik." I was like, okay. Joe really likes bridges as well, which is weird. So weird.
I mean, you're going to see a lot of them in Amsterdam, so that's good.
He loves bridges and viaducts and aqueducts. He's fascinated by them.
So
we
niche.
went to Knaresborough, and we were just sat there looking at the viaduct. He was like, "It's so cool." And I was like, "You're such a nerd."
I love that. But you know what though? I love that. I have a not so secret obsession with the London Underground and disused tube stations, which my husband doesn't share. So I'm all up for niche interests. I think,
bridges.
I love that. But Joe and I need to talk about our niche interests. I feel like that would be a decent conversation. And is there anywhere in the UK that you're kind of excited to visit?
Yeah, I actually really want to go back to Edinburgh. I went a long time ago, and I really want to go back like as an adult, and I want to go back to Cornwall. And you're gonna like shrivel up at this because you're a Londoner. Joe's never been to London ever.
Wow! Oh my God! Come to London. London. I'm going to take you to all the places.
And I've been, but I can count on one hand the amount of times I've actually been.
Yeah. Because
trains are so expensive. Yeah. It angers me. I can get a flight from Leeds Bradford to Barcelona for cheaper than I can get a fucking train to London, which is just ridiculous.
And I think that's why actually like so many people that are looking to travel don't travel as much in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is really expensive. So I am going to Edinburgh with work, and it was cheaper for me to book a flight than to get a train.
Exactly. It's absolutely bizarre. And that's why we don't do it as much as we want to. But we are definitely booking a long weekend to London at some point because it's just obscene that he's never been. Well, and we're going to have a proper tourist weekend. I can't wait.
I've got a walking tour that I can recommend you that you will love. So yeah, I've got the tourist stuff down. Amazing scenes. I love it. You need to stay in the Citizen M, Tower of London.
Oh my god, I know. I saw all your photos and I was like, I'm making a note of that.
Yes.
I also really want to stay at the Hoxton because it looks like a blogger's paradise.
Yeah, that's a really. I've been to the bar there a few times. I think in terms of like swish hotels. I mean, interestingly, the Citizen M Tower of London. When I was looking at the prices, if you book in advance on an early bird rate, it's actually for what you get like pretty reasonable as a rate for that location and that type of hotel. So but yeah, if you're gonna make it Joe's kind of grand entrance to the world of London, then you got to do it in style.
Absolutely. I tell you where I'd recommend for a UK city break as well, Liverpool.
I'm going to Liverpool soon, so I'm spending one night in Chester and one night in Liverpool.
Brunch, you got to go to Moose.
Right.
Go to Moose Cafe.
Amazing.
Sam. It's just amazing. We went for my birthday this year as like a last minute sort of where should we go. We stayed at the Titanic Hotel, which is the single nicest hotel I have ever stayed in.
Good tip.
And we went to brunch at Moose, and then we wandered around Albert Docks, and we wandered around and you've got to go to Love Thy Neighbour Cafe as well.
Oh, I've heard.
Oh my god. They sent me a pin the other day and it says something about avocados on it. It's great.
Oh, well, that's me done. So there we go. We've got some really good UK recommendations. Citizen M Hotel and Hoxton Hotel in London, and the Titanic Hotel, which I've seen pictures of, and it looks glorious. And what's it called? Moose Club?
Moose Cafe.
Moose Cafe.
Or Moose Coffee? It might be Moose Coffee, actually. Either way.
Google
there's one in Manchester
something.
now.
Google Moose something.
I think it's Moose Coffee, I think.
I'll look it up and I'll link it in the show notes. And
it's so
my neighbour. Amazing. So I want the listeners have got to know you and your travel plans, and it's so good because I feel like I know you, even though I've only met you once. I feel like I know you really well through the internet, which is the power of stalking, which is
the internet.
Great fun. But obviously didn't know anything about kind of your dad and your granddad being in the Navy, so that's been so interesting to kind of. I'm really interested in why people travel. But
oh my god, Sam.
What's your top tip, your top travel tip for anyone that's listening, that's thinking about going on a holiday or booking a city break? What is the one tip that you use that kind of helps you out?
My one tip is to research as much as you can. Like literally, I'm a very researchy person in general. I like to know things, but I just find there's no such thing as too much research. Especially if you're doing something like a city break or something that isn't just an all-inclusive hotel. Although that said, we went to Spain a few years ago and we stayed in this hotel and it was absolutely gorgeous. But oh my god, like the beds, I couldn't sleep. They were like rocks. They were literally like rocks. And then there's the language barrier and I'm like, can I have a mattress topper? And they're like, what's that? And it was a nightmare. So for me, it's just, there's no such thing as too much research at all. And with so many travel blogs and that being a thing now, it's so easy to do. Just go all out.
And do you use TripAdvisor for kind of hotel research and things like that?
Always. It's my favourite pastime. Have you ever looked through TripAdvisor just for the fun? Because some of the bad reviews are absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. And it's quite funny, actually, because a few hotels that I've stayed in have had bad, they've still overall looked good, but then when you read some of the individual reviews, they're quite bad. And I always have to think about cultural differences, because there's a lot of things that those from the US or Canada might find weird when going to stay in a hotel that for people in Britain, that it's not something they'd complain about, and vice versa. So I always have to bear in mind, because there are things that us British will whinge about that I'm sure people from other locations would just go, why are you whinging about that? That's normal. So I do find looking at the cultural differences on TripAdvisor to be absolutely hilarious.
Absolutely. And we were looking at a hotel to maybe stay at this year. And it was in the process of being renovated at the time that this guy left a review. And he got put in one of the old rooms. And there was loads of noise from all the building work and that, which is awful. Like, that poor guy. Yeah. But his bad review, it was a 1 star. And he basically said he'd never go again. And his reasoning was because they moved him to a nice room. His holiday was disrupted and he had to move rooms. I was like, so you'd rather stay in a terrible room? What?
So The other thing about going on holiday and being in airports and planes is that generally speaking, I hate most humans, and that there is an example of why.
It literally is. Like, people are the worst. People are the absolute worst.
See, this is why I think all those solo travellers have got it right. You can just go around and please yourself, and you can do whatever you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a total tip. So that, research. I'm a big researcher before I go as well. I'm trying to be a bit more relaxed about it, but I just can't help myself. I love an itinerary.
Same.
I just love it. I love an itinerary. It's just the best thing. Like, this is what the time that we're going to land, and at this time we're going to be here, and it drives Andrew bonkers. So,
I am exact same. It's great.
It's always good to have a plan, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What is life without a plan? I don't know how people can just go, oh no, we might do this, we might do this. I'm just like, no, you need to know. No.
It's absolutely brilliant. So finally, before we talk about where people can also stalk you on the internet, what if I was to ask you, kind of, you've talked about the fact that you love the word wanderlust and, you know, travel. I think it's very clear that it's in your blood, particularly with grandparents moving to Chiang Mai. That's literally my favourite thing ever. What would you say travel means to you?
Oh, God, that's a hard question, isn't it? Jesus.
I'm like the Jeremy Paxman of travel questions.
Travel to me it's a way to sort of remember that you're not saying not alone is the wrong phrase, because that makes me feel like I'm talking about aliens or something.
I did not think this podcast was going to go there, actually, so this is amazing.
It reminds me that, like, that everywhere is so different, and I feel like sometimes people get sort of trapped in their own little bubbles, and they get stuck in routines, and it's important for me to remember that that's not the only way to be. And I use this as an example, but when we went to Thailand, it was fascinating because it was the polar opposite of what I was used to. Like, people would work through the heat building houses because if they didn't work, they wouldn't get money and they wouldn't be able to eat. And then people were just so happy all the time and so friendly. And one of the weirdest things, actually, which has technically nothing to do with this question, was I'm super pale. Like, I do not tan. There is not in my vocabulary unless it's from a bottle. And out there, obviously over here, you get like tanning moisturizer and tinted face creams and all this. Whereas in Thailand, if you go into one of the supermarkets, every single beauty product has whitening in it.
Yeah.
Like the opposite, which is fascinating in itself. So I was just like a fucking goddess. Everyone was, oh my God, she's so pale. I was like, this is great. You love me. But that's what travel means to me. Is it's just so interesting and so fantastic to go somewhere and experience something so different to what you're used to. I just think it's quite humbling, and it's quite important for people to experience that. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. It's part of the reason why it's the thing that scares me and that I love about travel all at once, because you get all those fears. Like, I've recently been to France, and I never learnt French really at school. I learnt German, which is pretty much the most unhelpful language to know.
I did
if
as
you're
well.
Going anywhere, right? And luckily I went with my friend Leah, who has a rudimentary high school French kind of knowledge, so we could sort of get by when we went to Lille. But like, I always get really freaked out about things being really different, and am I going to cope? And then when I'm there and in it and feeling comfortable, that celebrating that difference is literally the best thing.
Absolutely, I totally agree. We were in Australia, and because we were so young, we were both 8 and 3. We were very, very pale and white blonde, like white, like the bleachy colour that my hair is now. That was my natural colour as a child. And we went to a beach in Sydney, and my dad and my uncle buried us in the sand up to our necks. Nowhere near the sea, I might add. We weren't going to drown. And this guy, who I feel like was from Singapore or Japan or somewhere in Asia, I'm not sure. He never said. He came up to us and he was like, "Can I have a picture?" And he had a picture with me and Ethan, my brother, because he was just like, oh my God, look at these kids with their like white blonde hair. We don't see this. And it was really weird, but also kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it is really bizarre, I guess, like thinking about what we take for granted. And I always find that stuff super interesting, which is why I want to travel a little bit more outside Europe when I've got the money. I too am pretty obsessed with seeing South America. So hopefully at some point that will be on my list as well. This has been awesome. I'm so nosy about people, and particularly about people's travel plans and also recommendations and things like that. So thank you so much. Where can people stalk you, find you, follow you, love you online?
I am literally everywhere. So on Twitter and Instagram, I am at Rhianna Olivia B. My blog is rhiannaolivia.com. And I'm actually on YouTube, although I haven't done a video in a while. Hopefully I will be vlogging Leeds Fest, though.
Amazing.
And I can't even remember what my YouTube is. I think it's still Robocop blog, I think. I don't think you can change your YouTube URL.
No, I don't think you can either, because some of the really big YouTubers have still got their old school links, and it's quite funny. But I'll make sure that all the links for people to stalk you are online. You should all go and follow Rhianna's Instagram, because it will make you hungry. It will make you want gin. And it will make you want to absolutely fashion blog a pose in front of a wall as well. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
They are my 3 life goals, so thank you for that.
That's it. That's what your Instagram is. You just change your Instagram bio to that. There, I've done it for you. We're all good. So thank you very much for joining me, and have an awesome holiday in Lanzarote.
Thank you so much. I've loved it. Seriously, thank you. It was fun. I can't wait to listen to everyone else's as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of The Travelust, and I hope we've managed to inspire you to think about your next trip. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you gave it a little review and rating on iTunes or your podcast player of choice, so even more people can find their inner travel lust. Until next time, have a safe journey.